Good morning, afternoon, depending on where you guys are logging in from. Welcome to today's session. My name is Jessica Davis. I am the Global Sales and Services Executive at Dimerco in our Contract Logistics Department here in Los Angeles. I'll be your host or moderator for this event. Today, we are joined by Pippen Hsu, Contract Logistics Manager at Dimerco's Taiwan office, who is visiting the US and is here with us in our San Francisco office. Pippen works with companies large and small to design efficient warehousing and distribution strategies in the Asian Pacific. And that will be our focus topic today, with the emphasis on the advantages of Taiwan as a central distribution hub in Asia. Before we start, I encourage you guys to jot down any questions you may have in the Q&A section, as we will have time at the end of the presentation to address all your inquiries. But if we cannot answer your questions during the webinar, we will follow up with you afterwards. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the presentation. Pippen, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Jessica. Everyone, thank you all for coming to see the webinar. Before getting the slides, just a little bit add up to my background. I've been working in the logistics industry for more than 15 years, and starting from the bottom, like in customer service, operations staff, and then back to the business development. So we do have a lot of experience that having the customer inquiry on how to set up a warehouse and the distribution. So hope today's webinar can give you some insight, okay? And later on we can have more discussion or communication after my presentation. So I'll move on. First, just work with Dimerco. So I just let you know what we do, give you a glance of Dimerco. Basically, we are an integrated service provider, providing air freight, ocean freight, custom brokerage, and local transport. And we have been established since 1971, with over 1,900 freight specialists all over the world. We have a global presence with the Asia Pac focus. And not to mention that we have go public in 1991. So we have a very stable financial, which is very important to the customers, especially for major brand customers in US and Europe. And as for the last one, system part, I'll leave it in the Q&A. Probably you might be very interested about the system part and what benefit that might bring to the customers. So we mentioned that we have over 300 service outlets in 67 countries, and we have our own network. Okay, and also we in special cities or places we even align with our partners, so we can provide more decent service to our clients. All right, so let's get to the topic. Today's focus: distribution in Asia Pac. I'm aware that a part of you might be the supply chain managers that in charge of the order fulfillment or even the aftermarket service logistics. So you might be concerned that from the production logistics and also the distribution logistics perspective. So you see this cargo flow that involved every point that you have to be aware of the cost and efficiency in every step otherwise it will impact your cost, okay? And you will have had it if you are not having a good control of every step. So product distribution in Asia Pac is a highly strategic decisions. As you might be aware that most of the world's component parts and finished goods are made in Asia. So increasing they are consumed there as well. Meaning that for Asia is not only among a place or area for manufacturers, also the big market. So thinking about moving your products into the Asia or using Asia Pac to distribute your products, you have to make a very strategic decision, and you have to evaluate many criteria. And here I want to highlight some common misperceptions for Western companies may have about product distribution in Asia Pac. I'll just give you a quick examples that 5 years ago, we used to have customers that have been working with the FTZs for a long time back in the US. Here, we are not saying that, no, I'm meaning that there's no doubt that FedEx is a great company in delivery and providing all the logistics service. But back to in Asia, you know, there are many countries that they have a different regulation, different cost structures. So sometimes if you move your standard service working with FedEx and into the Asia, you might meet some obstacle. You might meet to some challenges because you will see, wow, using FedEx in local country, the cost will be different, a lot different, and also kind of you will spend more time on it. So this will be the common, one of example of the common misperception that Western companies have about the product distribution in Asia Pac. So where should you locate your Asia Pac warehouse? So there are some criteria I want to share with you. You see that there are some the most important warehouse evaluation criteria which including service labels, tax and duties, regulatory, environment, transport, infrastructures, productivity adjusted labor costs. These 5 items all made up the total landed cost. So you cannot just think of one criteria and that make up your landed cost. You should all put these 5 items into consideration. And later on, we'll go into some detail for each item. Here are common triggers for establishing distribution in Taiwan. As you may be aware that there are many reasons why these trigger clients establishing their distribution centers. From our experience, we have some customers looking for hub just to near their suppliers to reduce the transportation cost. Or for customers without legal entity, they hope to search for hub in AirPad, or from startup, they don't have enough resources. And also they want to minimize the tax and duty payments through the strategic use of FTZ. And here I want to highlight that the first item in big and bold font. The reason is it's usually the first priority that companies select their location, their hub, just to be near their suppliers, which has become their first priority. So talking about the FTZ, I want to give you the heads up. What's FTZ? Basically, how FTZ works. We see the words FTZ meaning that free trade zone. Meaning for most government, they build out a free trade zone. The main purpose of it is to promote a free trade and to eliminate or reduce the regulatory. So business will be to try more foreign company to set up their business in local countries. So and also the meaning of free trade zone is it's inside the border, but outside customs. And what benefit that will bring to the customers? Because if that's outside of customers, that means less control and less the regulatory impact to your products. So which makes it very important. And for other like the tax and duty deferral, we'll talk about it in later stage. So you can use it, okay, as a client or as a supply chain manager. You can use it as an import hub or as an export hub. For import hub, goods stored duty and tax free. You don't have to pay for it, only until you sell, until for the final sale. And as an export hub, you can consolidate goods and complete export declaration. And even in some cases, you can apply for the VAT refund. So what does it mean to the supply chain managers? Think about it. Okay, every time you export, you have to declare. If that costs you $100 per customer declaration, think about it. Okay, if you have let's say you have a 10 cargo export monthly, which you have to spend $1,000, for example. But in FTZ, we can report to customer monthly instead of the per cargo or per shipment. So you only have to pay $100 instead of 1,000. So that will save a lot of costs just if we just look at the custom brokerage and declarations. So that's one thing that we usually provide our customers with the Bounty FTZ warehousing solution. And here, I want to give you some case example, things you are all in the field that you probably want to know what customer we have, what challenges we have, or what some good example that we can provide to our clients. And here, the first one, okay, we have customer relocation, doing the relocation of warehouse from Singapore to Taiwan to drive down the cost and delivery times. As I mentioned earlier, that we have usually there are some misconception for these West companies, and usually their first choice to locate their hub in APAC will be Singapore. Singapore has its unique advantage because it's also a free trade island. Okay, though it's a free trade island, okay, but it's also the cost structure will be different compared to Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan. So for these customers, okay, we in the beginning he located his warehouse in Singapore, but he find out that he has spent a lot of time to get his products from get his suppliers to the warehouse, because most of his suppliers are located in Taiwan. So he has to spend more time, okay, probably another day to move the products into their warehouse in Singapore. So relocation, we help them do the relocation and give him some cost structure, so he have a clear idea of what benefit will bring to the customer by relocation from Singapore to Taiwan. So in the end, these relocations significantly reduce distribution costs and delivery cycle time from 2 to 3 days back to 1 to 2 days. And also use of Dimerco Taiwan free trade zone, improve the cash flow by deferring taxes and duties until final product sales. But and also here I also want to highlight using the warehouse, okay, service, not only just storage, inbound, pick and pack. Okay, we even provide some value-added service. So you can do the firmware upgrade, power code scrap, and bias configuration. That's what we provide. That's the service we provide to the customers. So in that case, our customers don't have to send out an engineering team back to in the warehouse. For this kind of service, like firmware upgrade, power code, this kind of value-added service, we can do it for our customers. So which save a lot of customers in cost, especially the engineers. And second example we want to provide to you is the Skyworks. Basically, Skyworks is a US-based semiconductor company. And we help the Skyworks build up the warehouse from the sketch to the whole step. We put all the racking, and even the SAP system, printer, working station, all in one area. So we set up exactly the same warehouse as the Skyworks warehouse. So this is what we do for the customers. But for these three benefits that we generate to the customer, I want to highlight the second one, which we secured the tax break through the corporate income tax exception registration from Taiwan FTZ. Talking about the FTZ, I want to mention that FTZ is not just for Taiwan. Actually, there are over 700 FTZ all over the world. Take US, for example, there are over 200. And for these FTZ, local government always will provide a lot of benefit trying to attract the customers. But usually the main benefit will be the duty and tax deferral. But for Taiwan FTZ, I want to highlight that local government provide a corporate income tax exception certificate. So usually when you are doing, while you are doing the business in FTZ, you still have to pay for the corporate income tax. But in Taiwan, okay, For certain business model, the local Taiwan government will provide the corporate income tax exception as a benefit to the client. So think about it. Okay, if you have to pay for the 20% corporate income tax, that's the normally range for the tax rate in every FTZ. But in Taiwan, you don't have to pay for that. So think about the benefit that brings to your account. So the third one case study we want to talk about is the framework. Framework is a fast-growing US-based PC company, which is running a B2C model, manufacturing DIY laptop. As you can see, okay, we help them do the EDI API, which that means a lot to the customers. So thinking about this, okay, if for B2B customer, you probably just you might not have many orders per day or months, but for the B2C, especially in some of the very famous platform like recently in US like Shein or Tianmu, okay, for this B2C platform, you're probably not just having 10 or 20 orders per day. Sometimes in some special day, you are even have close to 500 orders per day and even 1,000 orders per day. So if you are doing this manually, that's going to cost you a lot of time, and you are not going to grow your business. So usually for this kind of customer, we'll do the EDI and API with customer platform, and even we'll work with the Shopify and do the API so that we can get orders from the platforms. So this is one benefit that we provide to the framework. And also another benefit we want to highlight is we help Dimerco, like the CEOs mentioned in the third one on the right, is saying that Dimerco has allowed us to greatly reduce the number of touch points and handling product bound for USA and Canada. Framework is a startup with so far probably just less than 50 employees in USA and Taiwan. So for this kind of startup company, if any logistics provider can help them reduce the touch points, they don't have to communicate to FedEx, to DHL, and to local suppliers. If someone can help them and act as their communication control tower, and that will going to save their communication time, which means a lot to these kind of startup companies. So I want to sum up here a little bit. Okay, so you see the typical benefits achieved so far, that by making the right strategic decisions on choosing the right hub, it can bring you the transportation cost savings based on the proximity to supply base. Also, second is reduction in distribution cycle time. That the case study I mentioned, relocation from Singapore to Taiwan might save you at least 1 to 2 days. Okay, if you do that. And also the cash flow improvement linked to duty and tax deferral. Here, I want to mention that if you are doing the business and acting as a global distribution part, instead of selling the product locally, like so even by doing that, you don't even have to pay for the tax and duty. If you are interested in that, we'll elaborate more on this in that Q&A section. So I want to go into more detail. There are 4 keys to success when setting out a distribution in APAC. First one, very important, about a proximity to ports. That meaning that a lot of companies that choose their hub too close to their suppliers or end customers. Second is rapid onboarding. This we will always consider the cost structures like tax or duties or service labels or the transport, okay, infrastructure, things like that. but some of the items, some items like rapid unfolding, that may not be considered here, especially from the previous experience that we receive a lot of IP or IFQ requesting for quotations. But usually I have to highlight here, rapid unfolding would be also very important criteria, because you don't want to have a headache during the onboarding. Thinking about the time to move your product into the hub and how much time they will have to spend for the service provider to get it on board. So the system will be very important. So I have to highlight that the system reporting, the accuracy, pit and pad, things like this, okay? So it will be very important for this. And also, the integration or capability of integration will be also very important. Starting from the beginning, like supply chain consulting, global shipping, custom brokerage, and warehousing, distribution, and final deliveries. So while we are making the decision on this, especially the strategy decision on locating the hub, we don't just look at one thing on warehouse only. You have to start from the top, from the supply chain consulting, because meaning earlier that doing business in Singapore, India, Vietnam will be different. Even in Taiwan will be different. So you need to have someone to give you some consulting, so you can make the best choice. So it won't bring you some headache after onboarding, or you see the report or the system report or inaccuracy of your impedance pick and pack. And as a business grow, you might think about, okay, how to scale out your business. So you won't look at your business just in 1 year. So yeah, even you have to look at your business in 3 years or 5 years. So thinking about how your service provider can provide you a scalable solution for changing volumes and market. This will become more and more important. So if you can do this, you find a qualified service provider that can give you a lot of choices, that can give you consulting and give you the scalable solution. So you can give you a lot of choices that you can make during will be very important on this. So here, to sum up, so why consider Taiwan as your Asia Pac distribution hub? I want to highlight here, okay, there are some Taiwan advantage as Asia Pac distribution hub, okay. As I mentioned earlier in previous session, first, the strategic location in East Asia, which the transport less than 4-hour flight to all major cities in Northeast and Southeast Asia. And second one is proximity to component manufacturer to speed and simplify your supply chain. Third one is a business-friendly regulatory environment. I mentioned that in free trade zone, we sometimes make some customers who don't have the legal entity, and they don't even want to set up their legal entity in Taiwan, because so far they're not familiar with the market and the cost. They probably won't want to invest so much cost right in the beginning. So at that time, we'll just act as the customer business agent. So that can be one of the solutions that we can provide to the customers. And also we can add as a strong gateway in North American and Europe with a frequent direct flight. Most of our clients are from the Europe and the USA. And so far recently, we have a lot of startup company. They want to set up their business. They want to do an EDI or an API integration with the platform like Shopify, like Temu, like Shelling. And our IT team can help them do the integration, so they don't have to worry about the platform integration. And also I want to highlight the highly skillful at lower cost compared to Hong Kong and Singapore. Here we are not trying to saying that if there is anything there's anything different from Hong Kong and Singapore. But here I want just to highlight to the supply chain manager that while you are making a strategic decision on locating your hub, okay, you have to think about the different criteria, because usually when they are making a choice among different countries on setting up a hub like Singapore, China, or even the Hong Kong, Malaysia, or Vietnam, or even Taiwan, there are some criteria you have to put in mind. Like in the previous slide, mentioned that, for example, like the service label, the transport infrastructure, that you can put this all into your consideration list and make the best choice. So strategy located will be free trade zone. This will enable your tax and duty deferral. Even though that you don't have to pay for the tax deferral if you are using it as a global distribution hub. And also there's one special benefit for Taiwan. We provide you as a corporate income tax exception for this company is coming from the local government. So we would just sum up here that these 6 benefits are the Taiwan advantage for Asia Pac distribution. So I'll just so this is about the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions, okay, you can just raise your hand or type in the chat room. So here I'll just leave the phone to Jessica, and we'll go to the next session.
Thank you, Pippen, for your insightful presentation. Your expertise has provided us with valuable insights into our services that we offer in Taipei. So shortly, we will be sending out a pop-up survey to gather your feedback. So please take a few minutes to respond and offer your improvements or suggestions or future webinar topics that are of interest to you. So now we will answer some of the questions that I received during the presentation. Pippen, are you ready to address some of these questions from our audience?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Okay, so question number 1. Is most of your distribution to Asia Pac, or do you guys offer global distribution from Taipei?
Okay, we can talk about it in different perspectives. Okay, usually we use the FTZ as a global distribution hub. Okay, by doing that, you can set your tasks and set your duties. So we usually provide our FTZ solution to our customers. So by doing that, most of our clients we use our FTZ as a global distribution hub. That's mostly what we do at the moment.
Makes sense. Okay, well, thank you for your feedback on that. So another question that I got is, can I do business in Taipei without a legal entity in Taiwan?
Okay, this is a very good question, because you see, I mentioned earlier in previous slide that there are some startups. So what is startup? Means that you have limited resources. The customer I mentioned earlier, framework, which is the US-based DIY laptop branded customers. They only have 50 customers. Okay, so the users, okay, they don't have a legal entity in Taiwan. So, and also in the beginning, they don't have the limited resources, so they don't have enough capital. So we provide a solution to framework saying that we can be your business agent. We can do that in a free trade zone. So by acting as a business agent, you can just go straight to do the business. You don't have to wait for we don't have to wait to another 3 to 6 months, because by setting up legal entity probably will take you another 3 to 6 6 months. So if you use our business agent service, or we can add on behalf of the customers, and we are the customer business agents, and we can start to doing the business right away. So this is a great benefit of the business agent. But of course, by being a business agent, you also have to usually required by local law, you have to sign a contract to make sure that both of you and we and the customers have the business relationship. But once the contract's down and the business agent process is completed, we can start doing the business as soon as possible. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great to know. Another question that I received: what kinds of issues do your customers usually face? I think that might be a little vague, but can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that?
Correct. That's a huge question, because usually they are. Well, what I'm trying to point out is, for example, in the previous slide, that there are a lot of reasons why companies go to Asia and locate a hub. Reason might because they want to their business grow. Okay, starting in the beginning, they might do business in their local country. Since their business has been growing, they have to put a step into their to other country, or want to set up a hub, so or even the company, so that'll be easier for them to do the business. So, but doing what they have stepped into the different country. Let's talk about Asia Pac, for example. They might face some issues. For example, they might not be clear with the regulation in different countries. There are some process, some law they have to follow. They're not very familiar with the local transport or infrastructures. So they might have some misconception. Probably they'll go back to their previous service provider, like FTZs, if that's in USA. I mean, so the cost structure will be different. And also, if you are using a service provider locally, probably you have different systems. So one of the issues they face is they have the system in alliance. They are not aligning the correct data, because I would say that every service provider, every 3PL has its own system, or we say that warehouse management system, but sometimes it could be manually, in some cases. So that will becomes a headache to the supply chain managers, that they don't have the accurate reporting. Okay, so they can manage their in and out very, very well. So system could become an issue. And also the quality about the skill staff that they use, because in different areas you have to set some criteria on selecting the qualified. If you are now setting out some criteria of locating your hub or selecting your partner, sometimes you will fail in pick and pack. For example, you are asking them to set a KPI for D+1 and have them do the pick and pack within D+1 delivery to the customers. But suddenly you find out they cannot do it in D+1. And you have to go back to and say sorry to your customers. So these two will be the common the issue that face while they are doing the business and working with their service providers.
Yeah, I agree. I believe Dimerco really has a stronghold on helping people cross into new locations and new endeavors. So we have our fourth and final question. You had mentioned CIT, which is corporate income tax exemption. Can you elaborate more on this?
Yeah, for corporate income tax, usually for most free trade zone. You do business there, you run a business there. In fact, you still have to pay for the corporate income tax. Let's say usually for you have to normally that would range from 20% of income tax to 25% of income tax. So think about it. If you are if you are 50 million revenue or 5 million revenue, in the end you are making $1 million in profit. So in local country law or FTZ probably asking you to pay for the 20% income tax. So that's a lot of money, right? So in Taiwan, Taiwan government is trying to attract more and more foreign companies to locate their business in Taiwan. So they provide a special benefit to these foreign companies that by doing B2B special criteria, if approved, that they will receive a certificate. That's a certificate for corporate income tax exception, meaning that you don't have to pay for the 20% income tax, meaning that you don't have, if you are making 1 million, you have to pay for the $1 million in tax in Taiwan local in Taiwan FTZ. You don't have to pay a cent for that. So think about it, the cost benefit that can bring to you.
Yeah, that definitely can help a business.
Yeah,
it can make or break a business. So that was the questions that we received during the Q&A. Now we're going to open the chat to any additional questions from the audience. If you have any, please go ahead and click the bottom raise hand function, and I'll see if we can get some of you on here. Was there any available?
I had a question. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, just in terms of the cost of distribution, this is Joe in Connecticut, by the way. I'm curious about like a Taipei solution versus like a Hong Kong or even in mainland China. I mean, from a pure cost of distribution perspective, how does Taipei compare?
Okay. That relies on different criteria you're talking about. Okay, for example, I put some four success factors that go into locating the right hub. The first one, the proximity to suppliers. So that always depends on usually would depends on where are your shipments going. Okay, are they going to China? Are they going to US country? So that's for the first the distribution cost you may have to consider. If you are, and also that will relate to your carrier. For example, you're using a FTZs, local carriers. So that's the first item you have to look into. Second is if your supplier is located in China, so probably you will locate your hub in China. That's very obvious. So like the example I provided earlier, one of our customers relocate their hub from Singapore to China. The reason for that is to close to their suppliers. So if they used to spend 2 to 3 days to transport their shipment from the supplies in Taiwan to the cargo in Taiwan to Singapore. So this 4-hour flight from Taiwan to Singapore become a cost. So if we go back, if you have your warehouse in Taiwan, that's probably less than 1 day, 24 hours. So think about the ocean you sit. If one container will cost you about the 1,000 USD for 1 40-inch container, full container, then you don't have to spend that money. So that's one container saved, but every shipment, but every container. So that's our saving. And also about a tax and duty deferral. That probably will be a very interesting part. As I'm being aware of that, let's just take Singapore, for example. as I know, starting from 2020, every shipment going to the Singapore, you have to pay for the VAT first. That's about 8% VAT if I remember correctly. But for some FTZ, probably you don't have to pay for the VAT. And India, let's take India for another example. You have to pay for another 17 or 78. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. 17 VAT, for example. So that's the cost you have to bear in mind. But for Taiwan, for example, that's you don't have to pay for a VAT. You don't have to pay for the duty. You can just directly ship your cargo in and store there and wait for the final sale. So these are some criteria, the different costs you might have to consider. So I just summarize here, many in two parts. So one is the tax and duty, and second one is the transport. So if you just recalculate, put it in the Excel file, and you will know, wow, the time difference in transportation costs, the regulation difference that costs you the difference in tax or duty. So these two parts you may have to bear in mind and do the calculation. Hope that answered your questions.
Great. Did we have any other questions from the audience? So I think that would be all for everything today. Thank you so much, Pippen, for all of your insights, and all of our guests for joining today. We appreciate your participation and look forward to connecting with you guys all again soon. One last thing I'd like to point out, below you'll find links to supplementary materials, including our Doing Business in Asia ebook, to deepen your understandings of today's topics. Please take a look and have a great day.
Thank you all.